One of the great things about N8N is it can do so many things, but how do you get that information out in a form that's usable? I've been using Make for ages, and I kind of got that down pat, but N8N had me stifled. So I'm trying to work out how to get information out and lay it out in a way where it's got all its headings and things like that. Here's how I did it. So here I'm using an N8N layout, and it's just basically, it comes in here, it researches an article, it then evaluates the article, makes any changes, and just sends it for a loop until it's satisfied that the article has been written. So pretty simply, it's going into ChatGPT and it's saying, you're an expert article writer, you'll receive information about a topic. Now, I based this on another YouTuber's evaluator tool, and it was pretty brilliant for doing what he had it for. And I thought, well, I should be able to just adapt it to mine. So I did. So I wanted it to come out with JSON information, meaning that it was laid out in a way that I could make it display on a web page with all the headings and things. And I know this is probably something I harp on about, but if I'm going to cut corners, if I'm going to use automation, then I want it to do it right and save me having to go back and automate blog posts and things like that later and go in and edit them. So this edit brings out a JSON with the title and the content so that I can separate them off and put them into a post or wherever I want them, and so on and so forth. So its job is to write that post. Then it gets evaluated based on the rules that I've set for it. And so there's little things like make sure there's no headings such as conclusion or introduction, which I can't stand. Light and humorous, you make sure it includes data-backed facts or pieces of advice. So I'm going to build that in. I haven't quite got that one right yet because I need to actually get to the web to do that. We'll get there. And then this optimizer checks that those evaluation things have happened. And if it hasn't, it rewrites it and sends it around and double checks. And eventually it comes up here. And this is where I hit a roadblock. I couldn't get it to output in a way that laid out properly. And I was having real trouble until I finally found out that in here, we have this tool called Edit Fields, okay? And I was able to get my JSON output. So if I run my script, which I'll do shortly, I can get my JSON output and put it in there. Now, what that did was allow me to then create a post and update the post, same as what you do in Make. And I take my post ID and there's my content. And when I made the post, you'll see here, create the post, I've used JSON title, which is the title from that article's tool over here. You can see the title, and that allows me to call that title and use it. Now, lastly, that puts it out to WordPress, but what if I want to copy somewhere else? So what I do is actually get it to Gmail it to me at my Gmail account, and subject is the title, and then the message is here. So let's run this, and I'll show you how it works. Shrink this down a bit. Okay, open chat, finding your best home life. Okay, and away it goes. You'll see here the agent's writing. It's using ChatGPT 4.0 Mini because I didn't want to use too many credits while I'm in testing phase. Obviously, I can push this a bit harder if I want to. Once it's finished running that, it'll then pump it along here to our evaluator tool. So we'll just give it 30 seconds to do that because it is writing a 1,400 word article. And look at that. It passed the evaluation first go, and it's gone up here and WordPress and then Gmail. So let's have a look at that. We'll just refresh my test blog here. Navigating your home loan maze, your definitive guide. So let's have a click. And you'll see we can now have all of our headings laid out like they should. And this is one of the reasons I use the JSON, is because it puts all the headings in. Otherwise, you get a blog post with just hashes and stars and things like that next to it, which is pretty useless, quite frankly. And it comes all the way down to the bottom, and then I've got my action points. So now you'll notice it's put summary there because I'm still fighting. I don't like conclusion, so it chooses summary. I'll get around that somehow. Of course, I can publish that. And then, of course, I can get an email to myself because I sent it to myself with that article in there, which allows me to copy and paste that and use it anywhere I want. So I have a copy of that backed up for me. Now, I haven't managed to save it into Google Docs yet, although I have tried. When I saved it in Google Docs, I was still getting that markdown. So if you open up the Google Doc and you select the markdown and then go paste as markdown, it all lays out properly like it should. I'll get around that eventually. I'm sure there's a shortcut, but I haven't learned how to do it yet. So anyway, the key thing I wanted to show you here is this use of JSON to get the layout so that you can then call it later and make it lay out properly. But when I was just going straight through and I wasn't using this edit fields, this JSON output, so there it is, the JSON output, and I'm just grabbing it, putting it over here. When I wasn't doing that, I wasn't getting this result properly laid out, and then I couldn't call it when I went into the WordPress one. You can see here, I've called it, there's my raw and all the WordPress information there. So it's super important, but this is the lifesaver. This took me ages to get correct. So hopefully that'll save you some time and help you just be able to output stuff from your N8N flows into a better format without having to go through and manually adjust everything. I'll catch you in the next video.